My name is Madison. I'm 28 years old, living in Chicago and working in senior financial consulting. People often call me the steady one, the girl who holds it together when the whole family starts to fall apart. And I guess that's fair. I'm the one who paid off my brother's tuition after he lost his scholarship for partying. The one who took on over $60,000 of debt my dad blew on shady investments. The one who quietly covered every one of my mom's credit card bills, even though she's never once asked if I was okay. I used to tell myself, family is family. No matter what, you keep trying. But over time, that definition started to suffocate me. Last week, I got a text from my mom. Dear Madison, come by the house at 6 o'clock tonight. We have something special for you. My fingers froze on the screen. Something special from my mother, Ellen, usually meant trouble. The last time she said that, the whole family had gathered to pressure me into co-signing a loan for Hunter's failed startup, just months after his last company went under. I sat in my car, parked in front of the 2-story suburban house I'd helped pay for 4 years ago, of course, under my parents' names. Through the warm yellow light in the windows, I could see people moving around, hear muffled laughter. I stepped out, adjusted my coat, and rang the doorbell. The door swung open. There was my mom, fully made up, bright red lipstick, eyes sparkling a little too much. Surprise! She squealed, pulling me in. The living room was packed with relatives I hadn't seen since Christmas 2 years ago. Uncle Henry, Aunt Joan, even my cousin Daphne, who only shows up when there's cash or gifts involved. Everyone shouted in unison, "Happy early birthday, Madison." I smiled, pretending to be surprised. "Oh wow, you guys really got me," I said, though the only thing I felt was suspicion. My mom guided me to the couch, and my dad quickly handed me a cocktail. "Your favorite, green apple gin," he grinned. "I've hated gin since I was 25. Sit down, sweetheart," my mom said gently, though I noticed her eyes flick toward the side table, where a leather-bound folder sat neatly, as if waiting. I sat, glanced at the first page. Asset Allocation Agreement, Louise Bennett Inheritance Trust. I tilted my head. "What's this, Mom?" "Oh, just some boring paperwork," she said quickly, placing her hand on mine. "Let's look at it later, sweetheart. Tonight's for celebrating." I smiled. But my hand was already reaching for the documents. "Actually, I'd like to look now. If that's okay." The room went still. My dad stood up awkwardly, raising his glass. A toast to Madison, the brightest star of the family. His voice was slightly rushed. I flipped to the first page. My eyes stopped at one sentence. "I, Madison Claire Bennett, hereby relinquish all rights to the Louise Bennett Inheritance Trust." I looked up at my mother. "Mom, what is this?" She forced a smile. "Just a formality, honey. It's for tax purposes." "Tax purposes? Or transferring everything to the family without telling me?" My voice was calm, but my eyes locked onto hers. "Madison," Hunter cut in. "Please, just sign it. Everyone's already agreed." I laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. "So this is the real reason for the surprise birthday party?" My mom clenched her hands. The smile disappeared. "Don't make a scene. Everyone's here." I closed the folder, placed it on my lap. "Then let everyone hear it. They deserve the truth." I looked around the room. Familiar faces that suddenly felt foreign. And I knew, this night would be the beginning of something entirely different. I was still sitting there, in the living room I used to know so well, but now, it felt like a stranger's home. The air was so thick, I could hear my heartbeat in my chest. The folder was still in my lap, the leather cover slightly bending where my fingers dug into it. No one said a word. Every pair of eyes had one thing in common: avoidance. Hunter stared at the floor, fingers interlaced tightly. Daphne tapped away on her phone like any notification was more important than this. My mother, Ellen, still wore that forced smile, but I could see the unease behind her eyes. I turned to my dad. Even he looked uncomfortable. Dad. Mom. If this was really about Grandma's estate, why not just talk to me honestly? My mother cleared her throat, then walked closer, voice syrupy but sharp. Sweetheart, I know you always worry too much, but this isn't a big deal. I just thought if the inheritance were under our management, it'd be more convenient. You don't really need more money, do you? You already have everything. I let out a dry laugh. Convenient for who, Mom? Why trap me like this? At a party you called a surprise. I thought I was family, not a financial asset. A gravelly voice spoke from the corner. Lauren, that's enough. It was my uncle, Ray. You're making everyone uncomfortable. Really? I turned to him. Then I guess I should apologize for not signing away the last legal tie I have to my grandmother. Reagan, my best friend, stepped up beside me. I hadn't noticed she was there, but now she was, eyes steady, ready if I needed her. Lauren, my mom snapped, the smile gone now. Don't turn this into a drama. I stood up, lifting the folder with 2 fingers, like it might stain. The thing is, Mom, you wrote the script. And I, unfortunately, refuse to play the part. I walked to the dining table, gently placed the folder down, then looked up at every face in that room. Grandma Louise left everything to me because she knew. And tonight, you all proved she was absolutely right. Silence. I turned to Reagan. Can we go? She nodded. But before I reached the door, my mother called out. If you don't sign, there will be consequences, Lauren. I turned back, looked her straight in the eye. I've lived with consequences my whole life, Mom. Now, I choose clarity. And I walked out of that house, not with tears or anger, but with awareness. Reagan's car glided quietly down the street, lined with golden lights. I leaned back, my heart still rattling from everything that had just happened. You okay? She asked softly. Not yet, I answered, staring out the window. But I will be. Reagan was silent for a while, then murmured. Your grandma must have seen this coming. I nodded. Yeah. I think she left something more behind. Not just money. Maybe a video. A letter. A way to expose them. Reagan gently squeezed my hand. Then it's your turn now. I held her hand tightly, then nodded. Tomorrow, I'm meeting Grandma's lawyer. The lawyer's office. We stopped at a small lakeside cafe, where the golden light shimmered across the water like glass. Reagan sat with 2 cups of hot tea while I pulled out the folder my mother had tried to force me to sign. I flipped through the pages again, this time, slowly, making sure I didn't miss a thing. It wasn't just the inheritance waiver. There were attachments, a temporary power of attorney and a financial reallocation sheet, which clearly stated that nearly 100% of my grandmother's assets would be transferred to a new trust, one managed by my parents. Reagan's expression darkened. They weren't planning to give you a single dollar. I nodded. Not only that, they planned to use my name to make it all look legal. If I signed this, I'd be handing them the keys myself. She bit her lip. What about your grandmother's lawyer? You said you were going to reach out. I pulled out my phone, reopened the last message my grandmother Louise had sent me, just a week before she passed. Dear Lauren, if things ever start to feel confusing, go see my attorney, Mr. Gerald Price. I left some things for you. I called the office first thing the next morning. A professional-sounding woman answered and scheduled an appointment for 10 a.m. I arrived 10 minutes early, heart pounding. The office was in a classic red brick building downtown, with large windows facing the park. Gerald Price was a calm, silver-haired man in his early 60s. He greeted me with a firm handshake and led me into a room lined with law books. On the desk sat a thick envelope, carefully sealed, with my name on it. Mrs. Louise left a private video recording for you, he said, opening a drawer and taking out a USB drive. She also left additional documents related to the original trust, the one your family is now trying to restructure. I took a deep breath. The video, can I watch it now? He nodded, then plugged the USB into his computer. The screen lit up, and a familiar voice filled the room. Slow, warm, slightly frail with age, but still sharp. Lauren, if you're watching this, then things are unfolding just the way I feared. I sat upright, eyes locked on the screen. You've always been kind, the only grandchild who never asked for anything. That's why I want to protect you. I saw how your mother treated others, even me, using family as an excuse to take advantage, all in the name of sacrifice. My hands clenched, eyes burning. The screen switched to the trust's original terms. It clearly stated, if there is any attempt to force the heir to forfeit their rights, all assets will be automatically redirected to the charitable organizations named below. Your family is unaware of this clause, Mr. Price said. But if you give the word, I can activate it today. I looked at him, then at the video. Can I have a copy? Of course. He handed me a fresh USB. And there's one more recording. It's meant for the family. I took the device, heart pounding with mixed emotions. But then, a plan began to take shape. I think it's time the whole family watched the video together. Reagan met me in the parking lot. I told her everything on the ride back. When I mentioned the video, her eyes lit up. You're going to show them? I nodded. Tonight. I'm hosting a small get-together, right at that house. So their surprise party becomes their surprise twist. I smiled. And this time, I'm the one writing the script. Once everyone was there, I'd play the video in front of them all. And if anyone still tried anything shady, that clause, transferring 100% to charity, was still waiting. They had no idea. But I knew better than ever. They were the ones being tested. That evening, I sent out a short round of texts. Mom, I've thought it over. Tomorrow, I'm inviting everyone to my apartment at 5 p.m. I'd like to resolve everything peacefully. The reply came almost instantly. Sweetheart, I knew you'd come around. I'm so glad. We'll all be there. I didn't even need to read it carefully. I knew my mother, Ellen Langston, never turned down a gathering where she thought she might win. Reagan helped me rearrange the living room. I borrowed a mini projector from the office and mounted it on a shelf, facing the sofa. The wall would be the screen, clean and unobstructed. I took one last look around the room, then placed the USB, with Grandma Louise's message, next to the computer. My heart was pounding, but not from fear. It was because I knew. After today, nothing would be the same again. At exactly 5 p.m., the doorbell rang. My mother was the first one through, wearing a soft beige dress, her hair carefully styled, heels clicking like she was walking a runway. Where's Madison? She asked the moment she crossed the threshold, calling me by the middle name only she still used when she wanted to remind me, I gave birth to you. I'm asterisk the one who invited everyone, asterisk I said as I stepped out calmly. Please. Come in. My dad came in next, followed by Uncle Ray, Aunt Linda, and Hunter, who looked visibly nervous. I offered them seats, then walked over to the projector. I'd like to share something, I said, voice low but clear enough to hush the room. I plugged in the USB. The screen lit up, and there she was. Grandma Louise. Her silver hair was pulled back neatly, her sharp eyes focused, her voice just as soothing as those summer afternoons when I'd listened to her tell stories as a child. If you're watching this, it means Lauren refused to sign anything you brought her. I heard a small shift from where my mother sat, but she said nothing. I've established a trust that cannot be changed. Everything I left belongs to Lauren, the only grandchild who never demanded, never manipulated, and never disappointed me. Hunter looked down. My mother shifted in her seat. My dad stared at the screen in disbelief. Asterisk, this trust has 3 clear conditions. It's to be used only for personal living expenses, housing, healthcare, education. It may be invested in independent ventures, with no family ties. It can be donated to verified charities. Asterisk. I glanced at my mother. She was staring at me, not with anger, but panic. If any family member tries to coerce Lauren to give up her inheritance, or sues to claim it, 50% of the funds will be immediately transferred to the 4 named non-profits. Silence. I shut off the projector. I know that yesterday, you planned for me to sign away everything. But I also know that wasn't Grandma's wish. And I'm no longer the naive child you could push around. My mother shot up, voice trembling. You're blowing this out of proportion. Everything I did was for you. Really? I asked quietly. For me? Or because you were afraid that if I held the inheritance, you'd no longer have access to solve your own problems with my money? My father slammed his hand on the table. Enough, Lauren. This is family. We share everything. I looked him straight in the eyes. I've shared enough. This time. I'm keeping what's mine. I pulled a copy of the trust conditions from the envelope and placed it in the center of the table. Grandma saw all of this coming. And if anyone in this family still plans to break that trust, just know, every action has a consequence. My mother clutched her purse, her eyes darting, lost. You'll regret this. One day you'll need us. I nodded slowly. Maybe. But today, I need something else. Respect. And I'm not trading that for any amount of money. Then, I opened the door. This meeting is over. My apartment was quiet again, but this time, it didn't feel lonely. It felt peaceful. I looked at the USB on the table. It didn't just hold a will. It held my grandmother's trust in me, that I could make my own choices. And if they still tried to flip the board again, they'd learn. I already had my next move ready. Lauren's story is a powerful reminder. Sometimes, the bravest thing we can do is set boundaries, even with our own family. Blood doesn't equal kindness. And true love doesn't come with conditions. What do you think about Lauren's choice? Would you have done the same in her shoes?